12 years underwater, right? Like it, it really, it's not roses, that's for sure,
No,
all the time.
no. So let me ask you this. Matter of fact, let me go to Sion. Let me go to my man C. How do
Dun, dun,
you
dun, dun.
express your love?
Wow. I'm big into physical touch, so I always want to, like, I mean, I would want to wine and dine, but to her, but physical touch is kind of my, that's the love language. That's mine,
Yeah.
100%. So, but that's not Shauna's. That's total opposites. But um, it's a balance. It's like what she would appreciate my love to be is folding clothes, but with unannounced.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
for me, expressing my love is trying to be that romantic person I was when we were dating. I still struggle with that. Try to go back to that person. I try to go
Mm,
back to that person, like because that's who she fell in love with.
mm-hmm.
But bills and life and everything else, you kind of just
Kids.
yeah, you evolve. But it's like she's like, no, I still am attracted to that
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man. You gotta
Yeah.
give her that guy,
But
man.
you want, I mean, she'll constantly tell me, hey, you won me over with your poetry, but you haven't wrote me a poem in years.
Oh,
Negro, you better get the
Mm,
writing.
I better get the right one.
yes.
mm.
Yes.
But that's what she appreciates
Mm-hmm.
young in the game.
Mm,
So, yeah.
Oh, poet, huh?
that's
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
buddy.
got that
Yeah.
one in the chamber.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
you knew
yeah.
how to tease you if you told me you wrote poetry. That's why
Oh,
you
back
ain't
then,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know how to got you, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcus always been that guy. Oh, it's always one.
He's soft, man.
Every group has
Nah,
one.
I knew he was. Hey, that dude, man.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have
he
called them
was.
soft. But
Nah,
again, we talking about traumas, right? Like, so my background just wasn't that. Like, I didn't see love in that way growing up. Like my family was rough. Like that wasn't like when you can sit back on your childhood and you can recognize and outcount the bad times over the good, then you
Mm,
know something's wrong.
mm.
so. How did that shape the way that you show love?
All right, well, I guess Megan's hosting. Oh, let's see.
Well, I'm
So,
just curious.
oh,
Well,
no,
now I'm
no, no. What
curious.
what was your question? Say it again.
Right. So you saw the way your family operated. Then you wanted to be married, and obviously you won over your wife. How did you know what to do to show love? Was it to fill what you didn't have? Like what was that for you?
So for me, starting out, it was really trial and error,
past
and as
relationship.
Mm,
as not always necessarily past relationships, but just trying to figure it out
mm,
because the examples that I had were trash.
Yeah.
So and then once again, we talk about how you had to be honest with yourself. Like sometimes you got to put yourself on that, what I mean, on the platform. Like, hey, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Like sometimes even asking your partner, like, hey, like, do you feel loved? Am I doing a good job? Like, be willing to be criticized. And I don't think every partner can do that because some people may not tell you in love, some people may tell you out of anger. But I
Mm.
know for me, that's what definitely worked, humbling myself and being like, hey, how am I doing? Because everything with me was trial and error.
Yeah.
The one thing that I seen consistently done in the relationship was providing.
Mm.
So that's what I took as my strong suit. Get
mm,
up, go to work
mm.
every day, do what you're supposed to do. Don't see no past due notices. Don't see no final
Yeah.
notices. Handle that in that regard. But you put 10 women in a room, pretty sure 9 of them, that's not going to work doing that solely.
Right. They're gonna want more.
9?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I
I don't
think.
know too many women who are
I,
just going to accept in a
I think.
All
I.
relationship
men.
I
I
think.
agree with you. I think 10 out of 10 women.
or going to just be satisfied with just, hey, he is a
No,
great
no,
not
provider.
gonna
are
be.
not gonna be.
Yeah. Not gonna
Yeah.
be. No. Not gonna be.
I,
Mm,
I, I
Because
haven't met a
like,
group of them yet.
yeah, you could be a
I don't
provider,
know
but
any of them.
where's the intimacy if you're just working? And that's
I.
your sole focus is to work to put
Yeah,
food on the
not
table.
just by itself, but I do think that the ticker is moving a little bit though with some of these younger women. I think.
You think they
I can
strictly
see that a
care
little bit
for
with the
Yeah,
social media
cause
and
they,
the,
cause
the
a
mis-
they,
man to take
a
care of
lot
them?
of them
That's
got
it.
their own hustle, their own. It's no more conventional dating, conventional marriage. That's done. That's over with.
But I'm gonna tell you where the reality kicks in, right?
Mhm.
Because if you want that and you have a man who's a real provider, what you bring to the table as a woman really doesn't mean anything to him financially, because his mindset is to take care of you anyway.
Yeah.
He's not
So
counting. He's not counting her coins.
he's not counting her coins to be able to provide for the majority.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you have that's all great and good. We see it all on social media. Get, what I mean, have your bag, have your money and all that. If you want a couple of dollars to have your nails done, your hair done,
Yeah.
whatever, that's cool. But I'm not looking for you to pay the gas and electric.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for you to
No,
split the mortgage with
I
me.
feel that. I'm 100. I'm on that.
So you sitting here making 80,000, 120,000, it's irrelevant to me because I'm not asking for your money anyway.
I get it. I'm with that.
Man. So let's go back to this, right? We still talking about traumas,
Mm.
right? Like, and so you got people who come from all different walks of life, right? So tell us a little bit about offshores. Like, how did your father play a role in the men you dated? Or even if it did.
Yeah. So I grew up in an incredibly traditional family. My mom stayed home. My dad worked. And it was me and my sister. We were close in age. And he was a great provider. Obviously, my mom didn't have to work, right? But this is also the 80s and 90s, so
Mhm.
different times. But so I think that I always imagined that I would want to be, you would imagine that someone like that would want to find a man to take care of her because that's what she saw. But my dad was very cognizant and very intent on making sure that my sister and I could take care of ourselves.
Mhm.
He taught us how to change a tire, a flat tire. He taught us how to do, check our oil, things like that. Because he had two girls, and maybe he wanted a boy, I don't know. we He taught me how to throw a spiral football. We used to run plays in the backyard,
Okay.
and took us to baseball games
Yeah,
and
he
things like
definitely wanted a son.
that. so
Tight spiral.
Right.
so we were
Randall Cunningham.
he
Yeah.
had two tomboys.
Right.
Um, and so, because of that, I wasn't looking for someone to save me or take care of me. I was incredibly independent. That created in itself a different issue, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need a man to take care of me. I don't need you. Like
Yeah.
I chose you, but I don't need
Yeah. The
you.
TLC
Yeah.
generation.
Yes.
They all single now.
Well, listen, 12 and a half years. We're working on
Yeah. Now.
it. No, but because of that, he raised us to be independent and self-sufficient. And so that created, I mean, my dad is, he's my favorite person. He's my hero. I, if Adam could be anything, my husband could be anything close to my dad, then I'm doing great, right? Adam is wonderful,
Right.
right? What we had to work through is comparing, right? Because my
Mm.
dad had an emotional wife and two girls. I'm not particularly emotional, but my sister is incredibly emotional. I'm emotive. There's a difference.
Okay.
But not I
Well,
can
look that
be
up.
I'm
We're
like,
gonna
yeah, I'm
yeah,
trying to think.
what we're
Yeah.
you
gonna
know
do is we're gonna let you talk, and then
Yeah.
somewhere in the line
Yeah.
we're gonna figure out
Yeah.
that we're gonna throw that
it's
definition in
real
casually.
it's actually I'm way more logical than emotional, and that causes its own issues in my marriage
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm a logical thinker. I can be like, okay, this is not making sense, I'm done. And Adam's like, but all of that to say, my father, because he had these emotional women, was an amazing communicator. Amazing, right? And my mom's passed away, um, but they were married for almost 28 years before she passed away. And were married young, grew together. My dad, My dad and my husband are only 18 years apart. And that's because my dad had us so young. All that to say, he really is an amazing man. And I would compare this, this new husband to this seasoned husband and be like, my dad would never talk to me like that. Right? Like,
Oh
I can't
man.
believe you said that. And he's learning. Right now, I can step back and I'm so embarrassed that I was that wife that compared my husband to my dad. But when I married Adam, what I saw in him, it was a year after my mom had passed away, and my nephew at 5 weeks had passed away. And Adam was there and consistent, and he was my constant, he was my rock. And I knew that if we could make it through, and I was a mess, right? I mean, like people doing my grocery shopping, my dad paying my car note because I wasn't managing money. Like that's how I was grieving, was just spending my money, and I was a mess. And Adam was my constant. And I knew if he could be that person when I was at my worst, that he was a good partner. Right now, so I saw him very much like my father because that's what my dad was.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that in Adam, I'm like, okay, this is I had an expectation. That's I'm gonna basically, continue this kind of path that I've already lived. And Adam is nothing like my father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we spent a couple years where I was just like, you are not who I thought you were. And he never purported to be like my father. And so it was me stepping back and saying, wait a minute, you can't compare a man that was married for almost 30 years to a man who was willing to marry a woman with a child. My daughter was 6 when we got married, and he didn't ever. We started dating when she was 4, but never held that against me, or he was willing to be an instant father. Right? Yeah. This is a good man. And instead of comparing him, like giving him his props and recognizing his strengths and what a good man he was. But for certain, I love my father. Again, he's my hero. Um, Adam is a good man, and he is going to be my daughter's heroes. And even, his daughter, who's not biological, looks up to him and recognizing the things that he's given to her and made her who she is.
Yeah.
So
So I heard you say, right? You said, my father is my hero. So even to this day, you feel that way about him.
absolutely.
That's a powerful effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
so many women can't say that, what you just said.
I know.
For real.
Yeah.
Now, did your husband know you before you guys got married? Like,
We were friends for a year. It's funny, our story.
were y'all friends like lying to each other,
No.
friends, or was you like,
No.
do you think one of y'all liked each other and was
No. It's
putting in the friend zone,
it's so funny because no, he's not my type.
Oh, that's
I
what
was a
every
mother.
woman get caught by not their type, and then it's
Right. No,
Yep.
12
he was
years
not
Yep.
my
later.
type. I was not his. It's
Yeah.
funny, we talk now, and he's like, I mean, all I saw was like a lady with a baby. And he
Oh.
was not interested. He was not interested. And my girlfriends are like, oh, Adam's cute. And I was like, cool. Not my type. And so we were friends and we would have these really nice conversations. And I was like, that's a nice guy. And so we were just kind of around, we were in the same friend group. And so we were around each other a lot. And it was like, oh, hey. And we exchanged numbers, and only to like, oh, he's from Virginia and I'm in Maryland. And so, like, oh, and it was mostly males. And I had, my girlfriends, lots of girls. And so it was like, hey, let's get together. Let's plan this party. And that's how it happened. It was very organic. And it was when I realized I liked him, I was genuinely like, and he knows this, so I was like, what? Oh, I like him. Oh no, I didn't. That was not what I wanted, but he was my friend first. So
Now, let me ask you a survey question. Okay. Did you guys find yourselves having these friendship conversations after 10 p.m.?
So
That's a good one.
we
That's
did not.
That's when it starts.
When we were friends, we did not. And it's funny because my daughter's 19 now. And what I tell her, I'm like, no talking to anyone at love jams and slow talking love jams